Okay, so let's say you've sticky taped a post-it with this handy dandy motto on it above your desk. Now what? Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tara East. I'm a writer, blogger, YouTuber, and the author of the mystery novel Every Time He Dies. And in this week's video, I want to talk about how do we make ourselves do hard things. In a newsletter I sent out about a month ago, I went on a bit of a rant, and at the end of the rant, I asked the question, how do we make ourselves do hard things? And I thought, hey, there's a YouTube topic. The weird thing about writing is that for most of us, we write because we enjoy it. But that doesn't mean that choosing writing is easy, or that the act of writing is easy, or that every time we have free time, we immediately want to fill it up with writing. Sometimes we'd rather spend the afternoon reading somebody else's book rather than writing our own. Sometimes we choose other activities for practical reasons or because we just want to genuinely relax. The fact that you love to write doesn't mean that writing is easy. And writing is definitely not easy when you're trying to challenge yourself or grow or do something different or new, at least for you. When you're trying to stretch your writing abilities, it often feels uncomfortable and cognitively demanding. You may hit a flow state for a couple hundred words and then snag on a plot beat and then fall off. Or maybe you suddenly become self-conscious about a character that you were writing a scene for. So we've established the fact that writing is fun, but it's also hard. So how do you make yourself do hard things? Unsurprisingly, I'm not the first person to tackle this topic. Brandon Sanderson released a video on his YouTube channel, I think back in 2020, so I'll put a link to that in the description box below. In that video, Brandon shared his own unique motto that motivates him, and it is, do the thing that you want to have done. So in other words, if you want to write a fantasy book, then you need to spend some time writing that fantasy book. The book is not going to suddenly make itself, it needs you to do that. Now, I love this motto for its pragmatic bootstrapping quality. If you want to get something done, then you have to do it. It actually reminds me a lot of this quote by Elizabeth Strout. There's no magic to it. When you do the work gets done. The motto is a knife that cuts through all of the BS narratives we feed ourselves. The way we victimize ourselves or act as though our days and time just mysteriously get away from us. As if the reason why you can't write is some big great mystery. Really, there's only a few reasons why you haven't written your book. It's either not a priority, you're crippled with fear, procrastination, perfectionism, or you have a serious lack of resources and support. Note, not all of these barriers are frivolous. Some are very, very serious. If you are working 2 jobs and have 3 kids and little to no support, then writing isn't going to be a priority for you because you're just trying to survive. But some of these barriers, say perfectionism or procrastination, are totally in your control. You have the power to stop yourself from scrolling. Okay, so let's say you've sticky taped a post-it with this handy dandy motto on it above your desk. Now what? This is the part where you need to do a little bit of self-investigation. You need to figure out what motivates you, or in other words, how can you trick yourself into writing? Very recently, a friend asked me how it is I managed to get my writing done and then publish that work, or continue to submit my work. And my answer was pretty simple. I am more terrified of not being a writer than being a writer. In my early 20s, I spent a few years working a regular office job. It was really comfortable, it paid well, and frankly, it asked very little of me. I also genuinely liked everybody that I worked with, and I'm still friends with quite a lot of the staff members. And I saw how easy it would be for me to just stay there. And the thought was terrifying. So terrifying that I enrolled in a grad certificate, which quickly swallowed up my mornings, evenings, and weekends. I started writing articles and publishing them on small but professional markets. I started a blog, and I started slowly shifting my life away from muggle work and towards magical work. Interestingly, this same strategy also worked for Brandon Sanderson. For a while, he used to imagine that he was being chased by a cubicle monster, and if he didn't write, he was going to be captured and turned into a salesman. However, that image stopped being a form of motivation once he reached a certain level of success. So he had to come up with another strategy, and what he decided to do was track his daily word count. And this brought a lot of satisfaction because he could visually see how he was making progress and how he was so much closer to the end of the manuscript. For me, I enjoy tracking my Pomodoro sessions by marking them off in my diary. Every time I finish a 25-minute session, I draw a little square in my journal, and there is something really satisfying about seeing that little chain of squares at the end of a 3 or 4 hour session. Perhaps rewards would work better for you, or a daily minimum. You could write out your why and review it before every writing session, or you could create a list of values and then review that once a week. Maybe listening to music would make you feel inspired, or traveling to a particular location. Or perhaps you'd benefit from having a pre-writing ritual like making a cup of tea, putting on a playlist, and lighting a candle. It doesn't really matter what you do, just as long as it ends up with words on the page. The final way you make yourself do hard things is by taking those big, huge goals and breaking them down into small, manageable steps. Rather than saying, I'm going to write a book this year, maybe instead you focus on the fact that you're going to write a chapter this week or a scene today. It takes a long time to write a book, and if you focus too much on the ultimate outcome, the final published book, it will feel as though your daily efforts are meaningless and that no real progress is being made. And that, dear reader, is the secret behind how to get yourself to do hard things. 1, you need to do the things that you want to have done. 2, you need to trick yourself into doing those things. And 3, you need to break big goals into small, tiny steps. Because small steps lead to big achievements. There is a voice in our head that convinces us that writing is mysterious, and that the reason behind why we don't write is also mysterious. But that's not always the case. Sometimes we need a gentle or not so gentle reminder that when you do the work gets done. Now I'd love to hear from you. How do you make yourself do hard things? What motivates you to write? How do you make yourself sit down and write your story? I'd love to know, so please leave a comment below. Now, if you'd like even more writing advice, you can of course check out the other videos on this channel. There's a bunch of them. Or you can head to taraeast.com and dive into the archives. While you're there, please consider joining my email newsletter. When you do, I'll send you a free gift, plus you'll receive an email in your inbox every single Thursday morning, including a note by me, links to that week's blog or a video, a quote of the week, some resources I've recently loved and think you will too, as well as some other tidbits that I only share via email. Thank you so much for being here again this week. I really appreciate the time that you give me. Stay safe, stay calm, and keep writing, because the world actually does need more books.